Okay. We call the meeting to order, the Corrales governing body, August 22nd. Wow, that is loud. Where am I?
Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. I was probably too close. I'd like to call the meeting to order and would request that you put your phones on vibrate or turn them off, and then stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Murray. Here. Councilor Alsabrook.
Here.
Councilor Woolman.
Here.
Councilor Miera.
Here.
Councilor Knight.
Here.
Oh, very good. And Burkett's not here yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to read the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion.
Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there anything? Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to amend the agenda for the motion that the commission appointments be moved as far forward in the agenda as possible.
As far as what?
As close to the beginning as possible for the commission appointments.
Well, we have to wait until after you approve.
We have to approve the
committee.
You're right. I withdraw.
So we have no, thank you. We have no choice there. All those in favor of the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. So I guess we'll move on to you, Mr. Curry, Administrator's report.
First thing on the administrator's report is Tanya, please.
Hello, thank you, Mayor, Council Administrator Curry, for having me speak tonight. If you look at your council packs, or if you looked at your monthly reports the fire department sent out, you know that as of August 15th, we were running 26 cases per 100,000, so about 550 cases of COVID a week. 7 days later, we're at 43 cases per 100,000. We're up to 900 cases per week. And remember, that's just people who have tested at a lab, not home tests. And our 911 calls are on an uptick for COVID and taking people to the hospital within the village. Case positivity has gone from 15% to 16.8. And we ran about 1,200 more tests in the last 7 days than the prior 7 days. The hospital admissions went from 34 a week. We're now at 43 a week. And the other thing is, and I'm getting an uptick. Village Hall called me today and said we had a full box of COVID tests this morning and they are down to 3. So I will be taking more over. So there's that uptick really coming into fruition that we had expected. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We're still vaccinating. We have a vaccine clinic tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And we will continue until it goes to the commercial. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Tanya, so the news has been indicating that the current version of the COVID virus should be covered under the new vaccine that should be released. Is that correct?
So the new vaccine is going to be an XBB variant. So if I go back a little further, XBB is Omicron. Omicron has 3 variants: variant 1, variant 2, and variant 3. XBB is variant 3, and that is what is going to be in that vaccine. So currently XBB is still dominant. However, there's a couple more that they're watching that are going to be BA2 variants. They're going to be Omicron 2, not Omicron 3. We don't know yet if they're going to take off and they're going to become the dominant one. They're still trying to get the pathogenicity of that. However, it is still thought that no matter what, as long as you've got your T-cell immunity, you've got a booster to remind your body to build some antibodies, it should be protective. It won't be protective for everyone, just like every vaccine isn't protective for everyone. Some people get chickenpox after having a chickenpox vaccine. So people who are at high risk over the age of 65 as we start this increase, and maybe it's going to plateau here. Maybe this is all we're going to get for now, hopefully. But to start thinking about masking in public, because the vaccine is only so protective, and always have your COVID plan. Know how you're going to get Paxlovid or Monopiravir or what medications you'll have to stop. Have a plan with your doctor. But yeah, I will get that vaccine the first day I can get it, because it will, even if we change a little bit, it will still give us some protection.
You know, they seem to also think that they're going to be spot on for the flu vaccine this year as well. But also, you mentioned your vaccine clinics. Is that for free or is that through insurance?
So our vaccine clinics have always been completely free. We've never collected any insurance because billing is, and the government provided us everything we needed. The new vaccine, when it comes out, is commercial. So you're going to have insurance. They're going to have a program called 317 for people who are not insured, that hopefully some pharmacies in their area will pick up, but it will be insurance billed. Each vaccine is going to cost about $123 to $150 per vaccine for pharmacies to purchase when it rolls out with the new one that's commercial.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Tanya, is there a nexus between what the pharmacy has to purchase it for and what the consumer pays for it?
So because CDC has added it and ACIP have added it to the recommended vaccines, most insurance will have to cover. Vaccines are covered on most people's insurance free of charge, so no one should have to pay unless they don't have insurance, but and I'm going to make sure I find those places for uninsured to be able to go get that free vaccine. Children who are uninsured will be able to go to health departments. They'll be covered under the children's vaccine program, where they can go right now and get any childhood vaccine. It's the adults that are different. The only insurance I don't know about is if people are just carrying that major medical and they don't have a prescription plan, how that would work out, if they could qualify for free or if they're going to have to pay cash. I'm still waiting. We're still waiting on this rollout, but I'm trying to stay as educated as possible.
So, and I don't mean to burden the subject, but what we're trying to strive for is that the residents don't have to pay anything for another vaccine.
Correct. You know, their insurance, if you're on Medicare or Medicaid, your insurance should pay for it 100%. I don't want anyone to pay for it. I'm really trying to find a pharmacy who has deep enough pockets to do a drive-through. I've had a lot of people who still want the drive-through that we would assist them with. They would bill for it because they're going to have to, because they're paying for the vaccine. But it's going to have to be a pharmacy that can, at $120 to $150 a vaccine, and they've got to pay up front, and we've got to collect insurance for the pharmacy to bill them. And if I partnered with a pharmacy, I would only want to partner with someone who is willing to do the 317 program, which means they vaccinate the uninsured as well.
That's unlikely to occur with the pharmacy here in Corrales.
Oh, they quit doing COVID vaccines a long time ago. I think Placitas was still doing some, but I'm not sure. It would really need to be, I've got a couple smaller pharmacies that I'm hoping to partner with. I just don't know if they'll have enough. You've got to have that cash for that initial purchase. And I don't know what the reimbursement's going to be. That's the other thing. They're still trying to figure that out. Are they only going to reimburse them $123, or they're going to reimburse them $150 so they can keep resupplying their vaccine?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next thing that we might want to discuss, and I'll leave this to you, Mayor, is the Sandoval County Regional Emergency Communication Center, which just briefly as a history, I know Councilor Murray has brought it up in the last week, but this is a conversation or a discussion that's been going on at least for, 3 years that I'm aware of, going back into the previous administration, where there seems to be a power struggle going on between Sandoval County and Rio Rancho. And the approach that the previous administration has taken and the current administration has taken is that we want to do something that benefits the village and gives the village the best services possible. The things that have changed over the years or have occurred over the years is that now Chief Martinez is chair of the particular committee. And so there's more politics that become involved. But the approach both by Chief Martinez and Chief Vic have been, along with the mayor, have been, we want to provide the best services possible for the village. And so I would just ask the mayor if he has any comments on that as far as where we're headed on this discussion.
Well, we're relatively small fries in this whole thing. I think we have like 3% of the calls. I believe it's the lowest number. And we don't want to get in between these two larger entities that are both trying to control what goes on. We contribute, and we're all part of the team, but we don't really care who runs it, we'll pay our fair share, which we have done. But again, we're only 3% of all the calls. Rio Rancho has a department up there that basically runs this. They deal with their people who handle all the calls to make sure they're educated and how they want to be told what's going on. They're firefighters as well as their paramedics handling the ambulance service. I mean, we don't see any problem. It's just that they've gotten into a situation between the two power groups there, the county and the city, where somebody just wants to be in charge. I'm not sure that there's a huge advantage one way or the other. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I was at a meeting last week at the Rio Rancho Library. It was quartered by Peter Wells, who I've known for over 20 years. And he was going on and on about Rio Rancho having 70% of the population, and should have more votes on the board, that it's unequal. And he doesn't seem to be any kind of settlement. But we did get the email from the county manager, Wayne Johnson, talking about that. So I'm not sure there's any easy settlement for this one with Rio Rancho's position.
We're kind of waiting to see what settles out. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I don't have a problem with the joint plant powers agreement. I think you're probably right, and I think that's good. My concern is if we don't respond, and Bernalillo and the other entity, I think it's the Pueblo, if we don't respond, Rio Rancho had said they would dissolve the joint powers agreement and go with individual agreements with each of the local communities. I think we just need to respond one way or the other. I don't have a problem with the JPA. I think that's a great way to go. I'm just worried that if we go with an individual agreement, are we going to pay more down the road than we would be if we were under the JPA?
So we have responded. I have responded directly to Mayor Hall, and he made a very nice offer if things sort of fall apart. Jack Torres is pretty much on the same page as we are, because he's also a relative small fry as far as use of the facility, use of the SCREC. But no, we'll respond. It's just that we have a JPA, and the changes that they are talking about, as Bill Woolman pointed out, they want more votes so that they have more control. That's not, we pay an equal amount of the costs per, like we pay 1/5 of the costs, but we only have, 1/10 of the votes or something like that. I mean, it's not equitable the way they're trying to change it. So it's all still in discussion. And rather than get in between them, I have opted to let Wayne Johnson, county manager, and Mayor Hall, and the county commissioners also, and Matt Geisel, kind of, work it out. The mediation sounds very good. We would be there with the mediator. We would all listen to the different, let's say, compromises that we can come up with. But I don't believe that the city of Rio Rancho has responded to the selections of mediators that Wayne Johnson has given them.
Doesn't it concern you that if we get, say Rio Rancho wants, since they've got 70% of the population and they get the majority of the vote, they could override anything that we could bring up?
Exactly.
That's been one of my concerns too, if we allow the, majority to be just one entity.
Right. I agree. Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay, you got anything else you want to talk about?
But yeah, just on this, the discussions continue, and I want to emphasize that, both of our chiefs have been very intimately involved in all of this for several years, and both of their interests have been to get the best service for the village. And Anthony's the chair, like right now, like I said, but it's oftentimes we find that both either Rio Rancho or Sandoval County is leaning on the village, trying to get us to pick sides. And our side, talking to the chief and talking to Vic, has been, we just want to do what's best for the village. And I don't know, Anthony, if you have anything you would add to that, but that's been the position that you've taken and been over the years.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, moving on, if we can, want to talk about something that was in the department reports. There was a meeting apparently August 14th about speeding. And I'm a little disillusioned with Michael Chavis's response about the flashing speed limit signs.
We're actually
We'll get to that.
going to get to all that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about you were done with the entire administration
get to
report.
No, I'll get to that.
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so the next thing, are we ready to give a drone shot of the gymnasium? We're kind of excited about this because it's bigger and bigger and bigger.
it's getting there. So if you haven't, okay, so if you haven't been by to look at it, you should. It's really impressive. The roof is supposed to be going on today. They were supposed to start today putting the roof on the main gym. The R factor of the ceiling on the gym is 38, and the R factor in the walls is 26. So we get it warm, it tend to stay warm, get it cool, it'll tend to stay cool. Any comments? Okay, all right.
As far as the speeding problem, a couple of things that I just want to bring up here.
It's not a problem.
We've had some meetings internally here. And a couple of things we want to do is have an awareness campaign to remind residents to obey the speed limit, which you will see on your agenda tonight. Replacement of speed limit signs with newer, more effective signs. An inventory of all public village roads to be conducted, which, and Michael could speak to this if he wants to, but it's fairly large inventory. Even you think so, you wouldn't think so in this 8,000 village population, but there's quite a few roads that we have to inventory. And the restriping of public roads with 10-foot lines will be completed as money and equipment becomes available. And then some things that have occurred because of some of the public input that we've tried to respond to. In the last 2 weeks, we've had 53 traffic stops and 53 citations issued, 37 for speeding and 16 for other traffic violations. And then in the court, we've had a list that I can provide to you that have headed to the court since August 1st through August 22nd. And we have citations only, and they're in the excess of 50 that have been issued. And so I can get that information to you, but I think it's important to know that the administration is trying to respond, and there are things that are being done, again, emphasizing that the awareness campaign and the replacement of speed limit signs with newer, more effective signs. An inventory of all public village roads are being conducted as we speak.
And I think Michael
And the
does wanna say
restriping of
something.
public roads with 10-foot lanes will be completed as money and equipment is available. Michael, I don't know if you wanted to add to anything with that.
Councilors, Mayor, Administrator Curry, we're gonna inventory the roads because the information I have on file that was left to me is incorrect. So we need to determine the actual width of the road. If we're gonna go with 10-foot lanes, we can't put that where we only have 9 foot of pavement. And then for the length, we're gonna have to check, make sure all the lengths are correct so we can get a quote, so we'll know exactly how much we're gonna be able to stripe.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Michael. On that last statement, how long do you think it's gonna take you to do that inventory on those particular streets?
That's real hard to say exactly because as you know, we're shorthanded and then we have to keep our regular routine going. But I'm working on the distances right now. I should be able to have the lengths maybe in a day or two, and then I'll start working on getting the width.
And you bring up a good point, Mike, and Mayor, you brought up as well. It's good, dependent on money and equipment. So that was our last question. I think we ended on that I asked last time. Do we have enough money? How do we get the money? Is the money going to be a problem later that we can address it now, or do we have the sufficient amount of funds for striping materials that Michael will need?
We need to know how much. And then I can answer most of those questions.
Again, he says he's.
I
just
think
gonna work
we'll
on it.
have funds, but I don't know how much it's gonna cost.
Okay. Okay, Michael, when you let us know, you let us know on that particular one. I have another question.
Yes, sir.
On that, on the overall issue. The 53 citations that were issued, and I know the chief isn't here, but does anyone know, they might not be able to answer that question.
Lieutenant Wiley is here.
Lieutenant, you can help us. Maybe, how many of those are Coraleños versus others from up the road?
I'd say don't tell me that there isn't, but I'd say, just from listen to the stops and the 27's being run, I would say over 3/4 of them are not local.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Counselor, I can get you a list from the citations by issue date that we have from the court.
Okay.
From August 1st through August 22nd.
Okay.
And what it shows you is the speeding infractions, the miles per hour over the speeding, and whether there was a fine imposed.
Gotcha. I appreciate it. I'll work with you on that one, Ron.
Okay.
I think that's important information there, whether or not, if we're going to be putting pressure, if that's a good word, maybe not. But whatever we're doing, we really are going to be putting it on individuals who don't live in the village per se. They're the ones who are doing most of the speeding, we can assume with those kinds of numbers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Murray.
No, thank you, Mayor. So one of the statements made in this memo that was issued to us in our department packet, in the packet, Mr. Chavez stipulated that he thought flashing lights and adding lights and more signs would be a distraction. The Federal Highway Administration, it supports dynamic speed limit signs. They say they are effective in slowing people down. And I think that's probably true And we could use them more effectively on these roads where we have an issue or where we think we have an issue, especially Loma Larga. If you were to put signs like that on Loma Larga, it'd be reinforcing the behavior. If we put them over on La Entrada, where our couple of citizens have indicated, it's a possibility it would just again reinforce behavior so people would be aware that they're speeding. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention too is, as you went to the open house down at the Los Ranchos Agricultural Center, if you drive down Rio Grande, you notice that they've got the speed limit painted right on the roadway. Simple. I think it's very effective because it does, repetitively, it reminds people that it's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. We could do the same thing. If Mike wants to stay with the 10-foot speed or lanes, that's fine. On those roads that do not meet the lane requirement for outside striping, put a center line down and then put reflectors on either side if that's the case. Because then that way, maybe that'll help with, with people, maybe make them more cognizant of these things. But, I think that we're going to find that a lot of our roads are not compliant with the 10-foot lanes. And I think because, one, they were put in long before we started looking at this and the standards were enhanced or updated. I think we're just going to find that a lot of roads, especially if you look at La Entrada, at the beginning, as soon as you turn off of Loma Larga, it's narrow. But when you get down towards Old Church Road, it widens out and so does the right-of-way. So I think we'll find that some of these roads won't meet Mike's 10-foot requirement. That's fine. Put a center line down it and then put reflectors on the side. Let's do something.
Okay. There was an issue with the lights, Melanie. Did you tell me that the person, or was it Michael that told me the person who sold those said we were not good candidates for that?
That was the speeding cameras.
Speeding cameras, okay. All right.
Mayor?
Oh, excuse me, yes, Bill.
Yeah, one of the statements made in that same paragraph was that additional signs might be distracting. To me, texting is distracting, eating is distracting, having a dog in your lap is distracting. Additional signs remind drivers that there are rules of the road, similar to traffic lights, similar to rotaries. Judge Frechette, when she was here at the last meeting, indicated that many of the streets in Corrales don't have enough signs that people, for example, let's say West La Entrada, coming from Loma Larga. There's a sign very close to Loma Larga, and then it's a very long stretch before you get to the next sign, perhaps down by the library. I think we need additional signs periodically on all the side roads, in addition to Corrales Road and Loma Larga.
Okay,
I don't think this additional signs are going to be a distraction.
okay. Okay, anyone else?
Counselor Knight? Hello?
Oh, Counselor Knight, you have something?
Yeah, I'd just like to kind of reiterate what the past two counselors said, as far as signs, more signs, as well as signs that are kind of hidden by people's shrubs. I think we need to look at that. And I'm still all for having the miles per hour on the pavement. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are you finished? Okay, well, let's move on to Counselor's Forum now. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. Counselors. Don't fight over it.
Sorry, Mayor.
Counselor also.
Thank you. Just sort of to tail end on the speeding issue. I've been hearing from constituents who are more and more curious about what it would take for us to take over ownership of Corrales Road. They're a bit dismayed about what seems to them illogical controls that DOT has over what we do with our side roads, and they see that as a solution. So I realize it's complex, but I think there are enough varied interests in the reason for doing it that eventually it's going to behoove us to take a formal look at it so we can either do a yes or a no and explain the reasons to everyone.
Okay. Counselor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. Counselor, so a couple things. Last week we had our Mr. Cog meeting of the Metropolitan Transportation Board report, our meeting. And basically they're working towards Some workshops are being offered next, or it's probably already happened. They're also looking to outreach on land use, growth and expectations. And they're also updating their high fidelity network and looking at that for review. As well, something else came up that Steve Montel brought up is that apparently there is a division in the New Mexico DOT. It has to do with construction. They are looking at making a mandate that any municipality who has a person who works on these projects have certification and take a test. Mr. Montel is definitely against this. He thinks it fights against what we're trying to do. The big issue has to do with inactive projects. He says that anytime there's over 2%, then they have to do a report. He says, fortunately, we're only like at 0.6% in terms of inactive projects. And inactive projects could be anything from delays in construction, materials, or payment not being sent to the local municipality. So he's really against having this certification, this test done. Right now, it's voluntary until the first of the year, and it looks like it's going to become mandatory. He's trying to work this out with the Department of Transportation and see what goes on. But that was basically the highlights of it.
Okay. In this test and certification, I missed the first part when you were.
Yeah, it has
This
to
is
do
for
with,
what?
it's the construction division within the Department of Transportation is mandating this certification as test and certification for these projects. In other words, if we were to take Mr. Curry and send him in and have him tested or have him do the work to be certified, he'd have to take the test. But if he were to leave the village for some reason, then we'd have to send somebody else up and have them certified and take the test as well. And they're only given like 30 days in which to do that. And Mr. Montel's basically saying that, look, Mr. Cog monitors these things. We're really involved with this inactive projects, and he didn't feel that it's necessary that we do that.
Yeah, but I'm still confused. What are we testing for?
For being able to certify the projects that are coming under your jurisdiction. In other words, if the village were to take on Corrales Road, if we were to go to the state for money and so forth, we would have to have an engineer or somebody who would work with the Department of Transportation on that.
And that person has to be certified?
Yes.
I got you.
So basically that's what,
It's not any person that happens to be in the village. It's somebody who is doing the project. They have to be certified to do
yeah,
that.
but all the localities would have to have, whoever work on these local projects, they would have to have the test and the certification. So he's against that. Also, one other question I wanted to bring up. I'm just curious where the master trails map is at and if it's close to being done.
So we will be doing a meeting in September with the groups that are working on it. So hopefully we'll have an update for you the second meeting in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Corleone's Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There's a 3-minute time limit. According to Village Code 2-60G3 regarding public decorum during a meeting, no person shall act in a disorderly manner, nor while addressing the governing body shall any person make any personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. Presiding officer may bar anyone acting improperly from continuing his address to the governing body. There should be a sign-up sheet. Melanie, you should have it by now.
I sure do.
Also, let me remind people, maintain your civility and use proper language.
I apologize if I mispronounce your name, ma'am, but first up is Sabine Schurter. If you could state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes. Yes, please.
My name is Sabine Schurter, and I live on 47 Lincoln Road. Dear village councilors, dear mayor, dear residents of Corrales. According to section 4027 of the village's noise ordinance, it is unlawful for any person to make or cause to be made any excessive or unusually loud noise, or any noise which either annoys, disturbs, injures, or endangers the comfort, repose, health, peace, or safety of others within the limits of the village. According to paragraph 2, the use or operation of any sound amplifying equipment or other sound-producing machine that disturbs the peace and quiet of persons in any office, dwelling, hotel, or residence, or of any persons in the vicinity is unlawful. This was a noise ordinance available to the public when we purchased our Corrales home on Rincon 47 in 2019. This ordinance is still in place, and it does not say anywhere in the ordinance that it only applies after 10 p.m. And in my opinion, it shouldn't. Forward to 2023. Amplified live, loud music has been played 5 to 6 times a week, sometimes twice a day, for months, often at decibel levels averaging over 90 dBA and peaking at 110 dBA on a bar's patio in the heart of Corrales. These are the decibel levels of a rock concert. We live less than 100 yards away from this bar. The music is ridiculously loud on our entire property and inside our home. The amplified music can be heard 500 yards away and beyond. I have talked to the owner and I called the police once so far. Corrales is being touted as rural, peaceful, quiet, quaint, special. But this is not true anymore for that bar's neighbors. Their peace and quiet is gone. As more music venues offer outdoor entertainment, the noise will increase, and eventually that value of homes in the noisy zone could drop as they become less desirable for people who value their peace and quiet. And eventually neighboring businesses will disturb each other. That may happen too. Inviting the noises of the big city, including amplified outdoor music, right into the heart of Corrales will have its downsides. Please enforce the village's noise ordinance as it stands. It cannot be that laws get adjusted and interpreted in a way that appeases businesses while neighborhoods have to suffer the consequences.
Thank you, that's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Rick Toller. And again, if you can state your name. Yes.
Could you give us, we couldn't hear, where'd you live?
On Rincon Road, 47 Rincon, is that right?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Toller, if you'll state your name and address for the record, you will also have 3 minutes.
Hi, Rick Toller, 483 Hanson Road. I want to give a shout out to Corrales Police Department for upping enforcement somewhat on West La Entrada. My son-in-law was talking to one of the patrolmen recently, and a woman came by doing 38 miles an hour. She got caught. That's good. But we've been proposing other concrete proposals to address the speeding problem, and literally nothing has been done. Last meeting's discussion, the mayor challenged the council to give him a plan. We've been working with a couple of councilors since then, gathering information and understanding what has to be done. For me, it's the same plan that we've been pursuing for 8 months. Lower the speed limit, center stripe and delineate the road with reflectors that don't narrow the lanes, install additional clear speed limit signage, and invest in speed control cameras to enforce the speed limit. Observe and adjust for 6 months and then apply the same solutions to other problem roads in Corrales. This proposal, or something like it, should be on the agenda for a vote tonight, not a meaningless token proclamation, which I have more to say about later. Let's find the courage and determination to get it on the next meeting agenda. And at your meeting near the end of the July 14th meeting minutes is the following statement. Speed and accident data does not support the need to change speed limits in any part of the village. So a traffic engineering study has been ruled out at this time. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of the process and of the problem. We have raw data, so we know something about traffic volume. We know that 30% of the traffic is speeding, but the traffic engineering study is not just about speed and volume. It's a multimodal study that looks at pedestrian and resident safety as well. It is then interpreted by an expert who makes non-binding recommendations. The engineer I talked to at NMDOT said that with the volume and speed we have on West La Entrada, he would expect the expert to recommend lowering the speed limit. The engineering study we're looking for is to determine whether the existing 25 miles per hour is safe, not whether, nothing to do with the speed and the the ease of traffic flow. We have a letter from Chief Manager Capra stating that the road is not safe, and you should be asking for this study, not trying to avoid it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mr. Tony Tafoya. And if you could state your name and address for the record, you will also have 3 minutes.
My name is Tony Tafoya. I live at 140 East La Entrada. Mayor, Council, I hope you can help us out on this issue. I just found out that the growers market will not be available anywhere in the village on the weekend of the Harvest Festival. I've contacted 4 or 5 of the other vendors, and they're kind of upset about it also. Personally, we do about 400 pounds of produce every Sunday. The plants don't stop producing. This is a harvest festival. The Catholic Daughters of America started the Harvest Festival 30-some years ago and provided meals at the church with produce that was grown in corrales. I'd like to know or find out where we can go for that day. I know we have growers from Placitas, Corrales, Rio Rancho, Socorro, Los Lunas, and they need a place also. So any help you can give us, maybe contact person with the growers market, with the Harvest Festival, with their committee, and I'll leave my number. If somebody will contact me and let me know who to speak with. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and the last speaker for this evening is Mr. Rudy Mieta. If you could please state your name and address for the record. You will also have 3 minutes.
My name is Rudy Mieta. I live at 116 East Meadowlark. The French writer Victor Hugo once said, "The world is now too small for anything but brotherhood and sisterhood, and too dangerous for anything but the truth." As we embark on a Corrales safety campaign, as was proposed at the last council meeting by Councilor Mel Knight, we, the residents of East Meadowlark Lane, are grateful for the fact that a mere 3 days after the last council meeting, one of those flashing speed limit monitoring signs was put up on our street and had an immediate impact for the first weekend. For the first weekend, there was a notable decrease in the amount of speeding vehicles. Unfortunately, in recent days, there are still some drivers who have fallen back into their old habits. We certainly appreciate the effort, but it's still only a partial solution. Now, I don't know the demographics of many of the other streets in our village, but on East Meadowlark, we have at least 3 families in a row that have young children. They're elementary school age. They go to Corrales Elementary. There's some preschoolers, but there's also a couple of guys that are going to mid school next year. All streets, roads, lanes in the village of Corrales are not made equal, okay? They're all different. But it's a shame that on our block, the children are now rarely riding their tricycles and bicycles because of the chronic speeding situation. We still need a speed table. I might point out that there are 2 of them on West Meadowlark, and all we're asking for is parity. And so in addition to the flashing sign, a deterrent, the flashing sign is a deterrent, but what, maybe 70, 75%? But compared to what a speed table will accomplish, don't we owe it to our children to aim for 100% safety, or as close as we can get to that? In conclusion, what a gift we can give back to the adults, but especially to the youth who need to be able to walk up and down their lane and ride their bikes without fear. The truth of our brotherhood and sisterhood will be shown by the actions that we take at this special moment in time. A proclamation without any action doesn't provide protection. The kids are our witnesses, and let us not forget, those children will someday be the future mayors, councilors, city clerks, head of public works. The children are watching what we do or what we don't do. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's all? Okay. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda.
There.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
There's a bar in the middle of the
Yes.
consent agenda. We need to remove that.
You want to remove it?
Yeah, don't we do that for resolutions? That requires.
No, we just do a roll call vote for us.
Do a roll call for the whole.
Yes, the
consent
whole
agenda.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mayor, Counselor Burkett is with us on
Does he
Zoom.
want to make a comment?
No, I was just letting you know so you can call his name
Okay.
when you roll call.
All right. Counselor Mira, how
Yes.
do you vote? Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor
Yeah, me too. Yes.
Sue? Counselor Murray? Counselor Knight
Aye.
and Counselor Burkett?
You might be muted, Counselor.
Is he,
He's just by,
Muted?
he's just by phone, so I think it's *67 to unmute when you're on phone.
oh. Okay.
You could also text me.
Well, we have at least 5, yeah. We have a majority. By the way, that bar, that's for the Gonzalez property. Okay, nothing was removed from the consent agenda. We go to new business. Consideration action approval of proclamation 23-09 declaring August 22nd to the 31st, 2023 Road Safety Awareness Long Week in the Village of Corrales. So I need a motion to approve.
Mayor, I move we approve proclamation 23-09.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Any comments? Councilor Murray?
Yes, I would like to offer an amendment to this. I emailed it in, but it's very minor. One, I would think that 1 week is not enough for safety awareness. And it's been suggested even by our residents that we need to extend this out to the end of the year. So I would ask that we delete the word week in both locations, one in the introduction and also down at the very bottom, and then insert December before the 31:2023 and extend this out to the end of the year. And this way we can have it. I mean, I think Mr. Mayor is correct when he says that a proclamation without action is nothing. That this will give us time to at least bring up some ideas and make some enforcement issues and maybe introduce some signage, even temporary, even our flashing signs, to make people aware that speeding in this village is not acceptable. So, and we've had also suggestions about the, drive slow, see our village. We can take those slogans and we can change them any way we want. Put them on our temporary signs at the beginning, entrance into the village, and hopefully we can make people aware that we're serious about speeding in this village. And I remember when I first moved here, speeding was obviously enforced really strictly. I really, if you went over 15 miles an hour, you were culpable of being, pulled over and given a ticket. So as this amendment, I would like to just make that as an amendment to the proclamation.
Until 12/31/2023.
That's correct.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second to amend proclamation 23-09. Did you get that?
Sure did.
Discussion on,
Any further discussion? Councilor Mira?
thank you. Just on that one, is there a time limit on that flashing sign that we have that they spoke about? How long are they gonna have that flashing sign until somebody else wants it or till somebody else wants it, right?
I've already had one request today and
Okay, but that, you have rules on how you're gonna go ahead and move that sign place to place, but right now,
usually try to place it at least a week or two.
And then maybe it's gonna come back. If not,
Let's request it again.
then we request again.
Counselor Velez will get it over to her.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Wallman.
Mayor, am I correct in understanding that we have 2 of those flashing signs for the village?
I think we do. Is that correct, Dave? Yes. Okay.
Is there a reason why we can't get more as part of this whole
Other than,
effort?
I would assume cost is the only thing. We just have to order them and pay for them.
We get is it possible to get an estimate on those?
Sure.
Great, thank you.
And Mayor, we have 2 people that, from the public that would like to speak
Okay.
on this issue.
All right. Who's up?
First is Garrett Allen.
Mayor,
you could
point
s-
of order, we have an open amendment.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's right. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the amendments,
I mean,
do we
it could-
discuss that
it's,
now or
it's,
what?
it's on the table, and I think that comments are okay. We can certainly vote on the amendment. If you, do we feel comfortable going ahead and voting on the amendment at this point?
Let's wait for the comments. That's fine with me.
I mean, you may change your mind.
Yep. They might change my mind.
Yeah. Okay, who's up?
Okay, Garrett Allen, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm very persuasive. So my name is Garrett Allen, 227 West La Entrada. Okay. The problem with data is that, like art, it means different things to different people. And the speed trailer data shows to me that there is an issue on West La Entrada, just as living on West La Entrada shows there is a problem. A letter from the police chief saying that it is not safe to walk along West La Entrada also shows that there is a problem. The officer I spoke with, who just left, who's patrolling West La Entrada when I was cleaning up a fallen branch at a neighbor's home, who caught the speeders both doing greater than 35 miles an hour, warrants. One of the drivers, which had a warrant, also shows there is a problem. We need to remember to look at this problem from different perspectives, not just the perspective of a motorist, but also that of a pedestrian or a parent, a bicyclist, an equestrian. So for now, please, and to thank you, I want to thank the councilors, the mayor, for taking a good look at this problem that we're facing. Mayor, I saw you out on foot the other morning. I presume you were just getting boots on the ground to see things from a pedestrian's perspective, from outside the village halls. And earlier, one of the officers who's been patrolling outside of our house was here, and I wanted to give him a thanks, but he's headed out. And I want to let the councilors know that I am aware of increased patrols, at least on my street, but as well as Corrales Road and Loma Larga. The please is that I'm asking you once again to do more, to see this for the danger of speeding that it is. To merely call attention to speeding for 1 week with a few Facebook and Instagram posts is insufficient, and it will not cut it. Councilors, thank you for staying positive on this issue. We have to keep pressing forward with this, and I believe that we can find a solution. Let's get this done. A suggestion, since I have a few seconds left, is since there's not a hard and fast start date to this speed awareness campaign, it would make sense to wait until we have the necessary equipment, the trailers, the additional officers, or whatever is necessary, so that when we begin this initiative, we have the equipment to make it widely known that you don't speed in the village. Thank you.
And next
Thank
up, Rick Toller. And again, we already have your address, so you can have your 3 minutes.
My name is Rick Collar. You know me by now, I'm sure. Garrett and I met with the mayor 8-9 months ago to discuss this problem that I'm harping on. At the end of that meeting, I suggested that he could declare 2023, this was the beginning of 2023, that he could declare 2023 the year of traffic safety in Corrales, and accompany that proclamation with a robust educational program and a rotating speed enforcement blitz. He showed very little interest at that time in this idea or other ideas. Now, there's a proposed proclamation for you guys to vote on a week of road safety awareness, which is supposed to start tonight. By the time anyone hears about this, the week will be over, unless they were here tonight. I would like to suggest that instead, you amend the proclamation to declare 2024 Road Safety Awareness Year and state in that proclamation that the last 3 months of 2023 will be devoted to actual safety upgrades and a plan for a robust educational program to change the speeding culture that the proclamation talks about. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Is Zach online?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett, Counselor Knight, do you guys have any comments?
No, I'm willing to vote on the amendment that
Okay,
Counselor Murray initiated.
right. We have to vote on the amendment. Okay. How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir, explain my vote.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Burkett? Okay, so the amendment, that amendment passes?
Counselor Miera wants to explain his vote.
You don't have to do that.
I don't have to, but I want.
Okay,
I just wanted, I heard what Rick's had to say, but I hate to vote on something later which I can't vote on today, and that's how I feel about this one. We have something in front of us today. We can always extend it, which we did, and we can extend it to 24. Nothing's to prevent us, so that's how I'm voting.
okay, so the amendment passes. Now, how do we want to vote on the proclamation 23-09? Counselor Miera?
Yes,
Counselor Woolman?
as amended.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Burkett? All right, so the proclamation 23-09 is approved. Next is consideration, action, approval of resolution 23-57, creating the ad hoc committee to refine and amplify a conceptual plan for the Education, Community, and Arts Multi-Use Center. Do I have a motion to create an ad hoc committee, resolution 23-57, to create an ad hoc committee to refine and amplify, et cetera? Okay, no motion. Okay, well, that was simple. So that fails for lack of a motion. Let's move on to 3.
Wait, I just was waiting. I'm gonna move it so I can have a discussion on it.
Okay, I do have a second.
Second.
And a second. So we have a motion and a second for resolution number 23-57. Councilor Murray, you want to discuss it?
Yeah, the reason I held back on the motion was just, we're creating the ad hoc committee. Has that committee been already assigned yet? Do we have names or numbers?
We have 9 names.
Okay, so we're creating that ad hoc committee, but we're not necessarily saying who it is. Do you feel that we have the change, can we change that ad hoc committee, or is it up right now? I mean, I guess you put it together.
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of want to have the discussion about. If anybody else wanted to entertain that motion or whatever.
I would like to do that as well, discuss it.
Okay,
My concern is that I don't see any names on here that that was on the previous committee, the original ACE committee. That's what this is, right? The ad hoc committee.
this is a different committee. This is a separate committee.
But it's identifying the same, it's looking at the same principles that the other committee looked at, correct?
They're going to take it a little bit farther along. We had some issues with the previous committee. When their time was up, we did not continue with that committee. We did not reappoint that committee. Barb Boyd, who we're putting up as a member of this new committee, was previously on the former committee, and she is going to act, we anticipate, as a liaison between the members of what is anticipated to be a 501c3 Friends of ACE and this committee that will hopefully finish what we need to get done to better define it and get more let's say, input from the community. And they're limited to 6 months this time.
You know, I know a lot of the people that are up for the commission appointments, and I think they'd be great on this committee. But it just concerns me that the other committee, it doesn't seem like anybody from the original committee is on this one. And I just.
Barb Boyd is on this committee if she gets selected.
Okay. Yeah, I think, again, I know a lot of people that are going to be appointed, and I think they're going to do a super job. But that was my one concern about meshing the previous committee with some of the members on this committee that will hopefully be appointed.
Okay. We were anticipating input from the previous committee, but who is now no longer a committee, but in fact is working toward a 501c3 status, much like the Friends of Corrales Library have formed. Councilor Mira.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now that we're entertaining those concerns, I like the people that you've chosen to be on the committee, but at least one short with regards to my discussions with the schools on a different matter, but we don't have anybody there representing the youth. I think you understand. I feel kind of sensitive about that particular issue with having our individual who joins us every week here. That being more than that, I just would like to be able to see, and where I'm coming from is that since we're going to be building that, I only see in the future where we're going to have a play at the Corrales Elementary, and it's probably going to be in the same place where it's been for the last 45 years, probably in the cafeteria. And it would be nice if they were going to be at the facility, but it would be nice to also, when we're building this facility, if we had some input, how, I don't know, I mean, that's why I asked you to put that together, if you could work on that one, but the feeling is we really need some advice from the youth, how they see utilizing that facility for themselves at this point in time, and of course later on when they get older. But right now I feel we're just missing the youth part. I probably feel, maybe you'd like to tell us how you feel about that particular issue.
I don't feel that the youth should be involved in these decisions. The youth depends on what your definition is. I think that probably the people who have the experience of building the buildings and can get input from the school system, the teachers, and the students at the school system. But I don't think that I'm going to put a school student on a committee that will meet at various times during the day. Yeah, I think logistically and perhaps experience-wise, they're not to that point yet. I may be wrong, but I just don't
argue the point with you, but I just thought maybe, like you said, maybe we could invite them to come and sit down with us, because right now that invitation hasn't been let out.
So there is no need for an invitation, but if they want an invitation, I'm sure one can be given by that committee that may be selected. But I mean, it's an open meeting. Anybody can show up, anybody can participate, as far as asking questions and perhaps responding to questions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilor Alsobrook.
I was going to say, thank you, Mayor, Councilor Mira. One of the tasking clauses is that this committee is directed to gather further citizen input. So we don't define, what categories those mean, but I would fully expect them to not be derelict in their duty and to include population that you just referred to or representatives thereof. So I think we may have that covered, but I think we'll have to do our due diligence to make sure they are inclusive that way.
Thank you.
Councilor Woolman.
Yeah, just for clarification, if I could, the previous committee that is forming a 501c3, that would be primarily for fundraising, as I understand it, and this is more for programming and...
No.
No.
This is to finish the design so that we can move on to the architectural drawings and the actual construction drawings and a 3D walkthrough. This is more of a committee as opposed to a nonprofit fundraising private group.
Right, that's the clarification I'm looking for. And at suggestion of Councilor Murray a couple of meetings ago, the funding for the 3D implementation, that kind of a thing, where does that stand now? And is that, we were talking about the LGIP funds to prep using for this purpose. Is that still on track?
Yes, we were talking about that. It has not been withdrawn from LGIP.
Right.
and we'll do that when we get to that point.
Good, okay.
Mayor, if I may, just as a little bit of context, and I spoke with, the mayor and I spoke with the previous committee the other day, and I spoke also with Main Street. The village has a lot of money skin in this game at this point and continues to support the project. As an example, we have between the buying of the land, the Jones property itself, the demolition of the property, the purchase of the Anderson property, which was done in thinking that it would be there to support this project, and also looking at the drawing that hangs in the office of the administration over here right now. The village has put in, over a period of the last 3 years, or more than that, counting the time, $1.4 million real money that we've spent to get to this point. We anticipate, to your point, Councilwoman, that if we go forward with getting the 3D complex or the documents built so that we can demonstrate this going forward, that's upwards of between $360 and another $400,000 that the village is wanting to commit either through the LGIP funds or through our general funds to get it going. So we're looking at $1.8 million that the village is getting in there to commit to the conceptual drawing that has already been done by the first committee. So what we're seeking to do now with the second committee is to expand and try to get more ideas to make sure that we're trying to hear the input of everyone within the village as much as possible so that we can move forward on this. But the village administration is committed to the fact that we've got this drawing hanging in our office over there that is the result of the work of the first committee. And one of the things that we have been asking, and I mentioned this the other day when the mayor and I were meeting with the first committee, is that there will be a meeting where the first committee meets with the second committee and tells them what they've done and what they've trying to commit to. But the administration stands in a position right now where we're really looking forward, not only from what's been done, but as we approach this legislative session coming up, if you look at our ICIP projections and what we're asking for, it's built upon what is hanging in our office administration on there based on what the work of the first committee has done. So we have a great deal of respect for what has been done already. We're just trying to make sure that as we refine it down, we try to be as inclusive as possible as we go forward.
Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So,
Mayor.
Let Councilor Burkett, you finally got online.
Oh, Councilor Burkett.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Hey, I appreciate this conversation, and I have significant concerns with this committee for a variety of reasons. Some have already been addressed. I do think that the younger population, I think we can expand the definition of that, but some young families are not being represented in this. But my bigger concern is that we had a very comprehensive committee, a very hardworking committee that put in a lot of work and gave us what we asked them to give us. And then we are asking a second committee that, from my standpoint, seems to be largely focused on several key parts of the project to come in and modify what a committee put in a ton of work on, and I think delivered to us what they were supposed to. I worry that it's redundant. I worry that we've already gotten most of this information, and what we haven't gotten, we're going to get from the Comprehensive Plan Committee. But more importantly, I worry it sends a very bad message to anybody that volunteers for a commission or a committee in this village that if you do that, that somebody's going to come back and modify the hard work that you put in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Councilor Burkett, are you done, or you want to say some more?
No, I mean, I think I do have some concerns like Councilor Miera as far as the representation. I mean, I think we need some families. I know with the previous commission, there was concern that they were part of a 501c3, but by looking at the application list for this, we have at least 4 members that are part of the same 501c3 that also operates within the village. So I think that I don't think we need a committee is really kind of the long and the short of it. I think we have our answers. I think we can do some focus groups to maybe modify this plan. I think we can lean on the village resources that we have. And I think we can respect the job that the previous committee did, because I think they gave us a very nice plan that with some small modifications is going to very likely meet our needs.
So Mayor, kind of going along with Councilor Burkett, in some respect, I do agree with some of his comments about the makeup of the committee, that we need a bigger diversity or a younger diversity of the committee, because there are folks like, over 50 or up, most of the committee members are there, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, we have no PTA members that are on from the Corrales Elementary. They could be very valuable in their input on education. The other concerns I have is too, that we have Adobe Theater representation on this committee, which probably might be a conflict of interest. I also think that I have real concerns about the operation of this facility once it's built, that we do not have a plan on how that's going to happen. How we're going to operate this facility. And I don't want to do that before we start building. I want to have a plan in place that if this is going to go forward, that we know how it's going to operate, how much it's going to cost us. And I really have concerns about one entity coming in and dominating the entire, what do I want to say, I'm sorry, process. Yeah, well, not the process, but
all the time.
The time, right. I think you're absolutely correct. I think, if we have one entity that is dominating 30 weeks out of the 52, it doesn't give you really time to do educational things in that facility, because if they want to take it over and they have to do, plays and they rehearse and they have set up and so forth, it does take time for this, for these theaters to do this. And I really have concerns about how this is going to operate. So with Councilor Burkett, I think he's got some valid concerns as well about this committee makeup as well. But I'm really concerned more about the operation and also getting an RFP out there that's going to justify going forward with construction drawings and so forth.
Councilor Alsobrook.
Thank you, Mayor. I have concerns about a word in the title, to refine and amplify. Amplify, as we were reminded earlier during Corleone's forum, is to make bigger, louder, and it's not at all clear to me that that's the message that we should be communicating here. What if this committee were to decide that a reduced size facility would be more in keeping with the village character and the coming comprehensive plan of development? The first committee, there's no question they worked hard, but they did not get a broad base of input. And there are many people who still question, do we want something in the village with 150 seats, 200 seats every weekend? What does that do to traffic? We've already seen lots of problems with our traffic. New facilities being, planning zone just approved a 50 Top Deli down at Meadowlark. We've got traffic already, and of course, all the speeding concerns and what have you. So if anything, I think the words "and amplify" should be struck. I don't for a minute think anyone's going to come back with a smaller facility. This is a good example of something that took off with a small group and got a life of its own, and now we've got good money into it. But without the proper kind of analysis, we're going to put bad money after it, and I don't want to see that. So I would at the very least like us to strike "and amplify" from the title.
Is that a motion?
So I'll make a motion to amend resolution number 23-57 to remove the words "and amplify" from the title.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have one more point, Mayor.
Sure, I'm listening.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my question to you and to the rest of the council is, do we need this commission at all? We can discuss amendments, we can discuss modifications, but at the beginning of this, nobody had any interest in making a motion for this, because I think the sense amongst everybody was that this is either an unnecessary or a problematic commission from the get-go. So do we force a vote on it today, or do we vote no and potentially push this thing down the road where we can either be more equipped or decide that we really do or don't need it?
So I would not have put this together if I didn't think it would be helpful to finish the job. Does that answer?
No, I agree with that. But I think there's concerns about the makeup of it. I think there's concerns about the need of it. And then if there are concerns about the makeup of it, it puts us in a difficult position later in the meeting when we have to go through approvals of nominations for people that really do feel that there's concerns about the makeup of it.
Well, actually, that's why we did it the way we did it. So you have an opportunity to express your concerns and whether you like the idea or not. And you can certainly vote your conscience because that's what you do when you're a counselor.
Right. Well, and I think every name you put on there is a great option individually. I have concerns that all 9 of them together are a great option as a group.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mayor, we do have some public comment if we want to do the vote on the amendment and then,
Has somebody already signed up for a public comment?
yeah, Representative Cates had
Okay,
signed up.
well, we're not taking comments from the audience. Sorry. You wanted to say something, Councilor Muir?
Yes, I did. I heard the last parts of it. I like the fact that we have some new people coming on to that you're proposing to come on to the multi-use planning committee. And if we don't approve this one, then those individuals will be left out. And I think it's important that these individuals get in. So if we have nothing at all, then we have where we're at right now. And that was a real concern about what they left us with the last time they had made their appearance here, the present committee, because we don't have nothing new. We're going to have to deal with the old one. And I had some problems with the old one. So that's how I'm going to probably vote on that, about getting rid of this one completely. It was just, I needed to ask some questions as to exactly what we could put more, or what more we could ask of them. And I think that's been discussed to my satisfaction here. But I do have some problems of not having a new committee coming forth. We're going to be stuck with the old one. And I had some real problems with the old one.
You said Representative Cates had signed up to speak? Gee, I'm sorry. Please speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. And I am just here to say, I understand the difficulty you have in this decision, trying to balance all the voices of the people you represent. I am just want to make sure, because I have not heard in this discussion, and it's something that I talked about with the first committee, and I have some issues with that first design, is you have no one with different disabilities on your design committee, as far as I know. No one who's a chair user. Understand that you're sitting today in this beautiful chamber that is acoustically, it is not amplified, but it is accessible with our Bluetooth connecting to hearing aids, and it's on ground floor for chair. And I have been the voice for the last 18 years to make sure that when we're using public funds, that we have somebody from a different ability that is on that design committee, whether or not they are a loss of sight or hearing or a chair user. And I hope that somebody like that is on the mayor's committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Councilor Murray.
Well, that's also kind of what Administrator Curry brought up. You know, we bought that land where the Jones property was at the time, and I don't think there was any thought about whether it was going to be a ACE facility or performing arts. We've got the land, period. We also had a need for the Public Works to move over there as well, which we've done. So to counter Mr. Curry's comment that we've got 1.4 million in the skin on this game, well, that land's always there. I mean, it's always there for use, whether the council decides whether to put an ACE facility there or not. The other part of it is the design cost. I believe it needs to be put out to an RFP because it's a sizable chunk of change, and therefore it should be on a RFP so that we get the best bang for our buck. But I think that in terms of the land, it's always going to be there. Well, what we put on it doesn't matter. So the village can use that land in any purpose that we want.
Any other comments from the council? We have to vote on your amendment?
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Murray, how do you vote on the amendment to delete and amplify?
Yes.
Councilor Alsobrook.
Aye.
Councilor Woolman.
Aye.
Councilor Miera.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Burkett.
Aye.
Councilor Knight.
Aye.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on resolution number 23-57? Counselor Alsobrook.
I just wondered if there was, I wasn't clear what went on when you asked the clerk if there was a sign-up sheet for public comment or not.
Yes, there is a sign-up sheet.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had it with this item on our
Okay,
sign-up sheet.
thank you.
That's what he
Sorry,
was
I just,
asking.
Yeah.
it just kind of went right by. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
She signed up. Representative Kate signed up. But we can't be, everybody can't just raise a hand. Yeah, okay. Okay, yes, sir. Do you want to say something?
Mayor, I think Mr. Vieira indicates that he may have signed up as well. Is that?
Did you also sign up?
I didn't realize that this was gonna be on here or I would have signed up, because I'm an actor with over 30 years' experience, and I have just one statement to make.
Oh, sure, come on. Thanks, Bill.
Generally, the arts is a good idea, especially when we talk about the interface with education. I support it. I took a look at the plans that the architect has come up with, and I counted the seats. There are about 150 or whatever, and this is the main problem. It's too big for a community theater, which I think is what we would want, and it's too small for a regional theater. And economics comes into this. This is the main thing. If you have a 100 or less seat, most of them are 99 seats, that's considered a community theater. And you can do any type of play. You could do, what's the big musical? You could do Les Miserables and not have to hardly pay, you pay pennies on royalties because you're considered into a different category. If you are a regional theater, this thing is too small. It's only 150 seats. Even UNM has a problem filling up Rhodey Theater. So the problem is it's too big for a community theater and it's too small for a regional theater. And that space could be used for a green room, also rehearsal space, workshops, other things. I'll just stop right there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say something if I may.
That's Mr. Flora. Mr. Flora, we aren't taking other comments from the public right now.
So
Just took 2 comments.
are we ready to vote?
You just took 2 comments.
Those are people who signed in. So, Counselor Murray, how do you vote? No? Counselor Alsobrook?
No.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Mira?
As amended, yes.
Counselor Knight?
As amended, yes.
Counselor Burkett?
No.
So is that 3-3?
It sure is.
Well, the mayor votes to approve resolution number 23-57. So that's 4-3. So now let's move on to number 3.
Might be an easier.
Consideration, action, and approval of resolution 23-58 in support of the Christmas de los Caballos All Equine Parade and Holiday Food Drive. Do I have a resolution to approve, do I have a motion to approve resolution 23-58?
So moved.
So moved.
So I have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments?
Might be easier than the last one.
Any comments anybody wants to make? Okay, how do you vote, Counselor Burkett?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Mira?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Murray?
Aye.
Resolution 23-58 passes. All right. Action approval of the Carouse Ditch Run event application. Let me get to that.
I move we approve the ditch bank run application.
Second.
Well, I don't have it here. Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second to approve the Carouse Ditch Run application. Any comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Carouse Ditch Run event application has been approved. Consideration action approval of MOA with Sandoval County Tourism Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So I have a motion to approve
Second.
in a second. Somehow these got out of order, Melanie. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the MOA with Sandoval County Tourism Department. Yes, sir, Counselor Alsobrook.
If I remember, what I read in the packet, our contribution to that is
$1,000.
$1,000, is that correct? Can that be paid out from the lodger's tax fund?
Ooh, I don't think so.
It might be.
It might be?
Angela might be able to answer that question for us. She's attending.
Oh, here she is, yeah.
Good evening, mayors, councilors. I just wanted to answer that question. I believe that Krause Main Street pays for that if we look back, but I just wanted to clarify. And then we serve as a representative for it as well on the service contract. So if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. That's why I came.
So the $1,000 comes from Main Street?
I believe so. If we look back in the past, I believe we've paid that amount as part of the service contract. So,
Okay.
but, and we can
Okay.
clarify obviously, but I think that's where it
But
comes
it's
from.
it's primarily for tourism.
So yes, and it, you know, I think obviously because we don't have a chamber of commerce, you know, and then we sort of partner on the tourism effort, Sky and Melanie. So that's sort of the effort, and it's to, you know, just keep the counties connected. And I think in my quarterly reports, I usually mention the Sandoval County website. It's continuing to evolve and get better and better. There's a lot of stuff on it. The outdoor rec guide just went out today. So it's definitely an effort to promote Corrales through the county and just, you know, from an exterior perspective. And I think it's important, you know, for those reasons.
Okay.
Thank
you very much. Anybody else?
I just wasn't clear that, yeah, the county, our lodger's tax goes specifically for Corrales business promotion, right? And
Yes, for advertising.
and the MOA is actually countywide, so it's more diluted. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't see where it said specifically, but yes. Okay. How do you vote, Councilor Murray?
Yes.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Waldman?
Aye.
Councilor Mira?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Burkett?
He got kicked off the Zoom.
He's off. Councilor Dyke?
Aye.
Okay, so
Is that how you voted?
the MOA with Sandoval County Tourism Department is approved. Next is the consideration action approval of amendment to the operating and use agreement between the Village of Corrales and the Indigenous Food Hub. In this, I believe, this was related to automobile insurance.
Yes.
We had some phraseology we had to change.
Right, so the Indigenous Food Hub had come to the village and asked us to serve as the fiscal agent for this grant. So we had signed the agreement with them back a few months ago, and originally we were told by our insurance that we would be able to carry insurance on the van that was purchased with this grant money. And then we get the van and we try to insure it, and our insurer said, nope, you can't do that.
There it is.
So we have to amend the agreement to say that they will carry the insurance. And then next on the agenda will be the lease agreement, because that's the only way their insurance would allow them to cover the van. So,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Melanie.
yes.
All right, I need a motion to approve the amendment to the operating and use agreement between the Village of Corrales and the Indigenous Food Hub. I have a motion.
Mayor, I do have a question, if
Yes,
I may. I began
Can
working
we
with,
get a motion first?
so moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
I began working with Alan Brower and Kara Bobrow probably in 2018 and 2019, long before there was Indigenous Food Hub. But can you explain the relationship that the village has with the Food Hub and as well as the state appropriation?
We're the fiscal agent. We got the money that they used to buy their equipment, and then we lease it to them. And when they're all finished with it,
We've heard.
correct me, it comes back to us.
Okay, okay. And so this is strictly in the equipment part?
It's delivery vans and refrigerated vehicles, refrigerated trailers, and yeah.
Great.
It's a win-win, win for them, win for us.
Great.
Yes, sir.
So Mayor, so this grant came through, it looks like in December, is that correct? Because that's when I saw in the paperwork that December 22nd, you guys signed this. Is that correct?
I don't know when we signed it.
Well,
Yes, that's
We've already,
all right, but it's in the budget. It was already in the budget then.
oh, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because, this is kind of a short notice that we don't have the complete grant before us. I was just curious because this was just pretty sparse in terms of what was being done, and I wasn't sure what was being done.
Well, we actually did it some time ago, and this is just to kind of make up for the little changes that we've discovered
Okay.
are a
well,
problem.
I'll have more questions in the next one.
Okay. So how do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Wellman? Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
And Counselor Knight?
Aye.
And is Counselor Burkett back? Okay.
No.
Okay, the next one is consideration action approval of lease agreement and contract amendment with the Indigenous Food Hub. Do I have a motion to approve the lease agreement and contract amendment with the Indigenous Food Hub?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Counselor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I have some real concerns about this because the way this was worded, it looked like it was only liability insurance that was going to be covered on the van. I didn't see any comprehensive or collision coverage as well. And also, I'm a little worried too, the way the maintenance was structured, that if they couldn't maintain the van, that the cost would come back and fall on the village. I'm also concerned that without the collision coverage, what happens if if I were leasing the van, I pull out onto the roadway and I get hit and I'm the cause of the accident? I mean, the lack of collision then falls on who? I mean, who's going to repair the van and so forth? It seems to me that there's a lot of holes in this service agreement that I'm not comfortable with. And I was curious about why we were leasing the van to them to begin with. Why didn't they go through another lease agreement? Why are we the fiscal agents for this?
So Councilor Murray, I can answer at least a good portion of those questions. To begin with, the reason that this is a lease is that the way that the grant worked, we had to be the purchasers of the vehicle. And we can't simply sell it to them and we can't give it to them. That there is an anti-donation problem thereupon. Therefore, what we did was an in-kind service agreement, and so then they would have free use of the vehicle, and in kind we would get the services that they provide. The problem, like Melanie said, was that whenever we went to actually go get the insurance on the vehicle, our insurer said, well, they're not employees of the village, that's a no-go. And so we had to work with the Farm Hub to figure out, well, okay, what do we need to do in order to be able to get insurance, because you can't drive it without it. And so this lease was provided by them based upon what their insurer required them to have in place in order to be able to get the insurance on the vehicle. This document is essentially just a placeholder stating that, yes, they have our permission to use it. They are still subject to all of the same requirements that we as a governing body have in terms of our insurance minimums. And the reason that the liability insurance is spelled out specifically here is because these are greater protections than we ordinarily would have in a municipal government situation. So these are higher insurance limits than we would require if they were a village employee using a village vehicle. So all of the regular protections that should be in place for a village vehicle are there. This is an above and beyond clause.
So if they were to have an accident, they didn't have collision or comprehensive, then what would happen to the vehicle? How would the cost be repaid, or would we absorb the cost of that grant?
My belief is, and I hate to speak to this without knowing, but my belief is that the state requirement on insurance would require them to have collision. So I don't believe that we would be at a loss. It would be dependent on the insurer, of course, honoring that, which is a whole separate insurance problem. But I believe that their protections cover those as things that we as a municipal entity have to have.
But it wouldn't come back on the village at all.
No, and that was the intent of having these above and beyonds. Is
Okay.
that if
Okay, thank you. One other question I had too was about the payment. It said that if they did not make the lease payment, that they could do in-kind services. Who determines the cost of those in-kind type services that they might use in lieu of a payment? That's a little bit of a concerning factor for me. And then how would that be taken from, applied towards the grant payment?
Well, I think go ahead, I'm sorry.
Councilor Murray, all of those were already outlined in the document that was just now amended All of the in-kind services were broken down on a line-by-line item list of if they were to provide, say, a meal to a household, or if they were to do a delivery of meal, or whatever service that specifically was. They are broken up into this has a certain value. And so what they do is, I believe it's quarterly, and Melanie can correct me if I'm wrong, what they do is quarterly, they'll send us a list of all of the things that were provided for the village, and then we count that against the amount that they owe on the lease. And if it doesn't rise to the level of the amount that they owe, then they would give us a check for the remainder. Or in the event that it was in excess of what they owe, then it rolls forward as a credit that they can count towards their next quarterly payment.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have, because I was brought up just a red flag for me. Because one, we didn't have the entire lease agreement. It seems like Exhibit A and Exhibit B were missing out of the agreement as well. I mean, in terms of this lease, I'm not sure what was on those two documents that was mentioned. So there were some red flags that I'm really concerned about and where this was going.
This was all originally done in August of 22. So it was a year ago.
The original agreement should have been in your packet after the lease agreement.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry, but maybe I've missed it.
Anyone else? Well, do we want to vote? Or we want to wait till Councilor Woolman's back?
Here he comes.
Oh, here he comes. We'll take a break after this.
He also probably didn't get to hear a majority of the discussion either, so.
How do you vote, Councilor Murray?
No.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett? Not yet.
Still no.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
All right, so we have approved the lease agreement and contract amendment with the Indigenous Food Hub. I want to take a brief, like maybe 10 minutes the most, break. You want to stop the tape? Discussion of changes to the short-term rental ordinance. Who wants to start? Oh, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm somewhat confused about what they're proposing, because are they introducing a new subsection? Is that the idea? Because short-term rental comes under Section F of the 1845 permits and applications and so forth. I'm also a little concerned that they've dropped the commercial zone out of it. The language is somewhat short as for an ordinance change. I mean, I'm a little worried that what they're proposing, in some respects, I understand what they're trying to do is they're trying to have short-term rentals and event centers together simultaneously in the commercial zone, which I think I've heard them say that it's permitted. Well, not the way the current language is.
That's why they're changing it.
Well, is it wise to have a short-term rental and a event at the same place? Especially if you had somebody renting a short-term rental, but there was an event going on downstairs that was disturbing them.
I don't know that's a question I would necessarily be asked. I mean, I think that's the individual might ask that question, but I don't know that that's a job for us to direct.
But what it does is it separates the event from the short-term rental. So events only happen in approved areas, and short-term rentals only happen. And I'll take one example of this is that I think the P&Z just approved this a few months ago, is down at the Gonzalez House, or what we call the Sears House. They approved a event center with additional short-term rentals when there was already a short-term rental there in the back. There were two. And yet they went ahead and approved this event center when it basically says no short-term rentals will have an event center there.
Okay, so
Lori is on as well to answer
Lori?
questions.
Yes, sir, if I may. Councilors, Mayor, there are two suggested changes from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the short-term rental ordinance. The first issue addresses occupancy, taking it back to 2 total persons per bedroom. The second suggestion only fixes issues created when Ordinance 2201 was passed. So let me explain. I wrote the short-term rental ordinance back in 2019, specifically for A1, A2, and historic zones. We had nothing specific before then. All I had prior was the home occupation application that wasn't a good fit. So in that 2019 ordinance, events were not permitted in residential zones, overnight guests only. Commercial zones already had and still have their own separate application process, which is a site development plan prepared by an architect. And commercial property owners can ask for a plethora of things, restaurant, retail, event center, offices, short-term rentals, woodworking, art galleries. They're all separate asks. So a short-term rental in a commercial zone is not in any way attached to an event center. It would be a separate ask. So getting back to that ordinance 2201, when those chapter 18 revisions were underway, there were really just too many cooks in the kitchen. And it got overlooked when the suggestion was made to mention some aspects of commercial short-term rentals within an ordinance that was originally written for residential zones only. So the 3 words proposed to be added to no events permitted, those 3 words being in residential zones, merely restores the original intent, and that's it.
But it seems to me that all right, you've indicated subsection G, but that's the cannabis section. Are you proposing that this would be a new subsection?
That may have been an error on my part
Big error.
in the wording,
Because
unless
yes.
it was in council, unless it was in Chairman Black's letter.
The amended language, I'm looking at page 84 and 85 of the packet, is 18-45F. Is it maybe farther above that when I quoted the original?
Well, I mean, look at the very top of it, though. I mean,
I will. I don't want to get too lost.
oh yeah,
Thank you.
that is.
Is Lori still there?
She is.
Yes, sir. The changes are proposed for the existing short-term rental ordinance.
Okay,
Yeah, that's.
are we clear? Getting clear?
Still have some concerns about that, but that's for me to resolve. I'm on the packet. This is what was included in the packet was under ordinance 2307. I'm just worried that what we're saying, I'm going to have to see the entire way this is going to play out. I need to see the entire wording of how this is going to be presented to us.
Well, it's going to have to come back for publishing posting. So you'll get an opportunity to see it again. All we're doing is talking about what the suggested changes are and saying if this is what we'd like to see in it, and then we will bring it back. And if you have any other amendments that you'd like to put on it.
Very well.
Is that about right, Lori?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, are we ready to move on then? Are we okay?
Yeah.
All right, anybody else have questions? Counselor Knight, you have anything you want to say?
I'm good.
Okay. Number 9, discussion of changes to the animals ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. There are, I think, a number of changes. Barbara Bear from Karma is going to speak to some of them. There is one that I'd like to bring up if I could.
Sure.
It's on page 101. And first of all, I'd like to thank Corey and Randy for all the work they did on this. It's just really pretty amazing. Section 6-13-1F, having to do with lake hold traps. The state has banned lake hold traps on public property as of April 1st of 2022. I believe Representative Ramirez was involved in some of that legislation at the time. I don't think, even though it says on public lands, and this refers to private property, that we should be in a position where we would allow traps to be used to trap animals.
So just say no leg hold traps.
There you go.
That's easy.
Thank you.
This is a discussion of changes, and we can make those changes because it's going to come back. All right. So no leg hold traps.
Yep. State law, that's fine.
Could be tramps too.
Did you catch that? Did you catch what you just? It's gonna mirror state law, no traps.
Anything else?
Excuse me, Mayor, I have a
Certainly.
question.
Yes.
On page 95,
Okay.
talks about animal bite incidents. There's a whole paragraph that is cut out about what happens to the animal if he bites somebody. They used to like the animal control, didn't they used to, take the animal in to make sure that it didn't have rabies and stuff? What happens if somebody gets bit by an animal and, that whole paragraph is gone?
So Corey, you know what she's talking about? Animal bite, what do you do with the animal? This has all been scratched out.
What I'm wondering, and Counselor Knight, and I'm not entirely sure, it may have been something that was covered in a different section in the ordinance. I'm taking a look now to see if it was merely a redundancy that we removed.
Well, heck, you read some.
And I mean, thanks for flagging it, because it looks like it should have been, ultimately, it should have just been moved to section 6.6, which is page 94. So just one up. The impoundment should have incorporated those animal bite situations. So we didn't have people going to two separate places so that they would see what would happen to an animal in all disposition situations. And so it was a move that looks like it just didn't move.
So this paragraph should be over here?
Should be an impoundment, yes.
Okay.
So it's redundant or it just needs to be moved?
It's in the wrong place.
It would have been redundant had that paragraph been moved like it was supposed to. That was an administrative error on my part.
Okay, well, thank you.
Anything else?
And then we do have public comment.
Oh, public comment. Barbara, you're the public.
If you can state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Barbara Vera. I live at 91 Ida Court. So first of all, Mayor, Councilors, thank you for having this today. It's a very good job, much better than the original ordinance, and so it's greatly appreciated. When I was reading through here, I wanted to keep these words in mind that are in this second paragraph. Maintains exemplary standards of humane animal care. And of course, our notion of our no-kill priorities. So having done that, there are 3 things that came to mind. Councilor Waldman has already mentioned the leg holds. To me, it's that whole section on leg hold traps. That's counter to where we're going, and we'll be on the wrong side of history with that. But it's also some of these other quick kill devices. I'm not an expert in that, but those seem to me to be fairly draconian for a no-kill community. The other thing is on page 96, where the section E, a commissioned officer is authorized to humanely destroy any animal based upon probable cause. Let me give you 2 examples. I've worked with Albuquerque Animal Services when they used tranquilizer guns to help get an animal that needed help. I've also worked with another one of the animal controls when they had a dog that was vicious, and they understood that this animal probably needed some care, got the animal to a vet, and this vicious dog had a bladder stone that was this big. We did the surgery, and when that surgery was done, within a week after the stone was gone, And after the surgical pain was gone, he was a great animal. We were able to adopt him into a home with cats and kids. So to my way of thinking, if we have an animal that needs to be subdued, it would seem to me we should be looking at non-lethal methods. That is consistent with our humane treatment of animals and our no-kill provisions. And then the other part that I would like to just, this is in my mind pretty obvious. It's on page 102, and it's, let's see, the second traps are to be checked every 24 hours. Now these are traps that you use for trapping animals. This is not the leg hold traps. This is humane trapping. This could be a feral cat, a cat that's gotten lost, something of that sort. Dogs, you can't have them sit in a trap unchecked for 24 hours. 100-degree weather, 30-degree weather. We had an animal that came to us that had been in a trap for over a day, and her face was entirely torn up as she tried to get out of the trap. So we always, I sit with the traps, but to have 6 to 12 hours, that's the most that you would humanely allow an animal to be trapped. So those are my major concerns. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Councilor Alsobrook.
Mayor, I wonder if we might ask our lone remaining officer about any possible training or use or knowledge they have of using non-lethal methods on animals.
Lieutenant, would you like to make a comment?
And if you could
Could
come
you
up
come
to
up
the
here?
microphone so the
Please,
people
sir.
in Zoom can hear you.
Thank you.
And really, the question was, is
For training.
Yeah, is any training or teaching at all for non-lethal methods on
Most
animals
of our
as opposed
officers
to
are
people?
good on handling animals, and I've been here 12 years, and I've known no lethal. I think maybe one coyote that was badly injured that we put down has been the only time here. Officers are given quick training on how to use the nooses and everything by animal control. So we have all the same gear available to us as animal control because we keep an extra set of keys to their trucks also. So our officers have all that stuff. And most all the officers are pet owners and stuff, so they're really good on handling pets and animals and stuff. So, thanks.
Councilor Waldman.
Mayor, I have three minor points if I could.
Thank you. You through, Lieutenant? Thank you, Dave.
Under the animal ordinances highlighted, there's a misspelling of the word humanely. Second line.
What page?
I think it's probably first page, 87 of the ordinance. Very beginning.
Spell check didn't pick it up, huh?
Anyway,
Maybe it's just
It's all right, autocorrect, I'll get you every time.
more importantly, on page 90, under exemptions, C1, having to do with sterilization, and it says the mayor may grant an exemption. I'm not sure the mayor wants to be put in a position to have to worry about granting exemptions for sterilization of animals.
Heavens, no. Which line is that on?
It's page 90, C1.
Yeah, that's, I don't think that's appropriate. I mean,
would that be an exemption possible from animal control or anyone else in the event?
do we have, is there an exemption policy? I mean, why would we have to, 6 months? There was something, okay, not for, no, I think that should be taken out.
And the last thing is on page 93, having to do with microchips. Indicates that owners of animals with microchips need to register with animal services, and I don't think that's really necessary. The owners register with the company.
Yes.
Animal services, when they adopt out, register with the company. So animal services, I think, is a real burden on them to have a separate. What I would suggest, however, is that others in the community have scanners, such as, and they probably do now, but all fire departments and even some, fire stations and even some private businesses. For example, Village Mercantile, who deals, with a lot of animals, supplies and things like that, could easily have a scanner people come by, or the SWARF building. Karma has one, Animal Services has one, just to make it more available to people so they can return the animals quickly. But the primary thing is that I don't think Animal Services needs to worry about.
It's data they don't need to collect.
Sorry?
It's probably data they don't need to collect.
Don't need to collect, and I think it'd be a real burden to have to worry about doing that.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything? Yes, sir, Stuart.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So is there any conflict with the changes that are proposed here and the coyote management plan that we have in the village?
We're talking about
the coyote management.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about apples and oranges here. Aren't we?
Well, it's still animals. I mean, once coyote's caught, but I mean, is there any discrepancy between these two ordinances?
Yeah, I didn't even compare the two.
I think most, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
I think most of the places it's defined what animal it is, genus and species even, so I mean, you define cat, dog.
Yeah, but what about large animals, horses?
I'm trying to remember that.
There's some talk about microchipping the horses as well.
That's true.
Whenever they talk, definition wasn't broad enough to, I'm just saying, I don't think the definitions were broad enough to include coyote. So if that's strong enough to build a wall so that it doesn't, none of this can possibly ever apply to a coyote.
I think there's something in there that has language that says it does not apply to a coyote because it's considered a different type of animal. It's not a companion animal. So I think there's already language in the animal ordinance.
It's on page 88. And frankly, I think Councilor Murray's point is well taken, which is that this could be spelled out a little bit better, because the only way you find it is looking under the definition of exotic animals, which then says that they're not normally considered domesticated and shall include yada, yada, yada. And then you arrive at wolves, dingoes, coyotes, jackals, hybrids, and so on and so forth. And so there's nowhere that's really explicit except for in the definition of exotic animal that coyotes are exempted from this ordinance. So the point is well taken that it could be spelled out a little bit better. Absolutely.
How about large animals? I mean, how about the equestrian? I mean, they're looking at chipping, a lot of the horses. I mean, once a horse gets out, I don't know if it happens very often, but there is a possibility, though. I mean, do we need to include anything about that as well? I mean, animal services, you have the fire department takes care of large animals. You have animal services that take care of the smaller ones, but there's still animals within the village. Something, just take a look at it and see what you think.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Any more? Yes, sir.
I found the spot that I remembered. Coyotes are defined the same as in state statute as unprotected fur bearer.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps us or not.
Then don't refer to your dogs as fur babies.
All right. So let's move on. Commission's appointments. Approval of Caleb Bryan appointment to the Tree Committee. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion to approve and a second for Caleb Bryan's appointment to the Tree Committee. Any comments? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Approval of Sherry Jones' appointment to the Multi-Use Center Planning Committee. Do I have a
I
motion?
so move.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir. Councilor Alsobrook?
I just wanted to make this explanatory statement in order to stay consistent with my prior vote on the committee. I'm going to vote no on these appointments, but it has no bearing on the person's qualifications necessarily.
Do you want to do the rest of the appointments as one block? Okay, all those in favor of Sherry Jones signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One opposed. Okay.
No, two.
Two opposed, excuse me. I didn't hear you, Stuart.
Sorry,
I thought I could
think
recognize
not.
your voice. Sorry. Okay, so how about motion to approve 3 through 10? That is Ken Martinez, Ed Bowles, Patricia DeVivi, Johnny Martinez, Rick Snow, Barbara Boyd, Cynthia Nava, and John Perea. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
In a second?
I have a question.
Discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Counselor Knight. How come Sherry Jones was voted on individually and everybody else is getting voted on in a group?
Because of Counselor Alsobrook's comment when he made his vote. And I said, okay, well then, can we just go ahead and if you're gonna vote the way you voted for the original committee formation, then let's just vote for all of them. If you don't want to do that, we can certainly change that.
No, I just want to make sure that it was a 3-2 vote for Sherry Jones, so she's on, correct?
It was, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Burkett's gone.
right.
Okay, no ties. All right. Okay, well, we'll do this way. Stuart, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Alsobrook?
No.
Counselor Waldman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Knight?
Yes.
3-2, all right. So we have approved the committee and we have approved the formation of the committee. Now we're going to move into closed executive session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H8. The Village Council will convene an executive session for the discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Waldman?
Aye.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Knight?
Yes.
Okay, so we are in executive session.
I will pause the recording.
Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. So pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H8, we're coming out of executive session where we discuss the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. No decisions were made. Covers me?
And no other items were discussed.
And no other items were discussed. Okay, so now the second item that we go into executive session, I need a motion to go back into executive session, please.
So moved.
And a second. I have a motion and a second.
Yes, please read the language. Sorry.
Pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H7, the Village Council will convene an executive session subject to the attorney-client privilege to discuss threatened or pending litigation in which the public body is or may become a participant. How do you vote, Councilor Murray?
Yes.
How do you vote, Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Waldman?
Yes.
Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we're in executive session. So I need a motion pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H7. The Village Council will convene an executive session subject to the attorney-client privilege to discuss threatened or pending litigation in which the public body is or may become a participant. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Would you hang up on already?
I'm here.
So we came out of executive session and no decisions were made. And
Nothing else is discussed.
nothing else was discussed. Gosh, you'd think by then I'd learn that, don't you?
It's 9:15.
I know. How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miura?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Knight, are you there?
Yes, I am. I vote aye.
Thank you. Okay. Future agenda items include discussion of adopting meeting procedures, and we'll try to do that on the 12th of September, as well as approval of ordinance 23-07 regarding boards and commissions, which is just correcting a few little minor things that were missed previously. We have a whole list on the wall.
We have a request from Central New Mexico University to come and do a short presentation for the council. Oh, no, that's in October.
That's the 26th.
Oh, yeah, no, the 26th. Jay Block wants to.
Oh, Jay
address the
Block wants to
commission
come and
on
talk
13th.
next time?
No, thank you.
No.
You don't have a choice. I already told him yes.
I
And then
can,
Can we override with that vote?
He's just going to come and talk for 5 minutes to say thank you,
you can get up and walk.
because he was a commissioner for a while before it was redistricted. And so, you know, come on, be nice, guys.
And I'd like to bring the publish and post for the short-term rentals.
Okay, anything else from you guys?
How come I have 5:30 for Tuesday, the 12th?
You have what?
We have the appeal hearing on the 12th at 5:30.
That's why I have 5:30.
Yes.
Okay, let me write that down.
September
I
12th.
didn't have that here.
Yeah, I forgot to put it on the future agenda.
Okay,
item.
this is the appeal,
The appeal of the approval of the site
Darling
development
Tribes
plan
building.
to the old Darling Tribes building, the one, the 50 top delicatessen that was just approved. The neighbors are appealing it.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be 5:30 before the regular meeting.
Hey, that's why I have 5:30.
That's why you have it.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the reminder.
Probably gonna
You
be a
got it.
vote for that.
Anything else, Stuart, John? Okay, all right. Anything else come up, we'll tell you about it. All right, having completed the business of the Village of Corrales this evening, this meeting is adjourned.
So here's.
Thank you, Mayor.